We're on the red couch, and for International Women's Day, we continue to highlight women who are in their professions, demonstrating excellence, who are breaking down barriers, pushing through ceilings, and who are achieving things and being an inspiration for a lot of young women out there in Barbados. And today, on the red couch for International Women's Day, as we celebrate all during the month of March, I have with me Andrea Simon. Andrea is an attorney at law, but more than that, she's also involved. She has been involved in several women's organizations, and she's now also a representative for Barbados on the international, is the OAS? Or
yes, the OAS, the International Commission of Women.
International Commission on Women. So that's a mouthful, and it's a huge introduction. Andrea, welcome to the Red Couch.
Thank you, Vic. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, you know, any young person looking at you now and seeing you as an accomplished attorney at law would say, but where did she start? What's her story? Where did you begin? Where was your orientation growing up? Where did you go to school? What was childhood like for you? Those are the kinds of questions that we like to start with, because in every story there's a beginning, there's a middle, and then there's the present. I don't say the end, because the end is obviously a far way off. So where does your story begin?
My story begins in, I was born in Barbados. My parents are Guyanese, and I lived in St. Andrew, in Belle Plaine, St. Andrew. And my dad was the parish doctor for St. Andrew at that time. And I attended a private school, so Winifred School, for my primary and secondary education. I believe my dad played a pivotal role in me loving people, interacting with people, caring for people's needs, and just having a sense of community around you all the time. So that was what I experienced growing up. And I think that inspired my passion to help people and to empower people. And even though I didn't fulfill his dream of becoming a doctor, it was still within me to really, help and inspire women and to love on people. And that was always my heart, So, I attended the University of Miami, did my undergraduate there in microbiology, but with a minor in international relations. And it was really the minor in international relations that inspired me to want to work on the international scene, to work with the UN. I had, as a young child, I just want to save the world and help people, and I had a real humanitarian, a heart for humanitarian efforts, essentially. So I believe that was what, that the international relations opened my eyes to just a lot of different, work happening all over the world in ways that you can influence policy and influence development. And it just opened my eyes to a whole new world.
Let's transition now to your current role, and you're balancing all of this at the same time with your legal practice and career and so on, because this work is largely work that is volunteer work. Tell me about your work, though, on the international scene, on the OAS. How did you become involved in the international issues and ultimately become Barbados's representative on this International Commission on Women's Rights?
I believe it was my experience with Seroptimus, being on the executive for like 7 years, being president, program action director, secretary. Also my work with the Bureau of Gender Affairs on the domestic violence legislation, and UN Women on the reform of the domestic violence legislation, and then being appointed as the alternate expert on the MSECB, which is the mechanism on the follow-up of the implementation of the Belém do Pará Convention, which deals with violence against women. And all those appointments kind of led to me then, I think your passion will always lead you to your purpose, right? So
very important, yes.
Very, very important. Yeah. And I was then appointed as the principal delegate on the Inter-American Commission of Women. So,
well, it's your passion will lead to your purpose. That's
yes.
a very important statement you just made there, and clearly this is something that you feel passionate about. Are there issues within our region that impact women, and if so, how are we going to fix those issues from your perspective?
Well, that's a big question, but
is there, for example, equality in your view?
So we're seeking to achieve gender equality, right?
Yeah.
We have this 2030 agenda to achieve 50-50 by 2030. And for example, in Barbados, we can say women's political participation, we're getting there, right? For sure, we have a female prime minister. I think in our Senate, we have almost, I believe it's close to
quite a few, yeah. I'm not sure numerically.
I'm not sure numerically either, but
you have the high court judges.
We have in our our judiciary, we definitely have 50-50
attorneys,
there.
medicine.
So
many fields.
In many fields, you see women achieving superiority.
The majority of university students
in corporate Barbados. We have a
lot of leadership.
A female prime minister, a president who's female. Our
private sector agency head.
Private sector agency. Our DPP is female.
Immigration chief is female.
Our immigration chief is female.
BRA is female.
BRA.
Lead in trade union is female.
We are making a lot of progress as far as women on corporate boards, leadership, women leading various private sectors, and the women leading in government. We're definitely making progress.
All the heads of our #1 agency.
All the heads of our tourism agencies, yes.
Chairman, COO, CEO, all women.
You name it. And the list goes on.
BHDA as well, come to think of it.
We are well on our way to achieving, I believe, I'll speak for Barbados, gender parity as it pertains to women leading. However, I do believe there are other aspects of our society that we do need to work on. For example, women are predominantly the ones that do a lot of the care work, domestic care work, and that is becoming a serious issue. You can't account. If you were to account for that care work, I think the stats show that it would account for like 40% of GDP, of a government's GDP, if you were to account for that. So it's disproportionate. And so trying to achieve gender parity where it comes to domestic care, that is an issue that we can work on here in the Caribbean, because we're so used to growing up with your mothers and your grandmothers doing everything. The stats also show, I think it's about 42% of the households in Barbados are led by women.
Only 42%? I feel almost as if there's so many more. For my final question today, as we celebrate International Women's Day, and we know the theme of International Women's Day is to inspire inclusion, I want to ask you, Andrea, about the women in your life, or the women that you see that inspire you, people that you would like to emulate. That sort of question, really. Who are the influencers, in a sense, in your life, and the women that you admire and respect?
Wow, that's a huge question. But
I know.
Well, I can start with my mom. Your mom is your strongest force, your most inspiring force. My mom is like a strength to me, and I just see that she's just very motivated, and she gets on with it. She gets on with the work, and she always encourages me and inspires me to become better and to do better. I can start there. But there's so many women that you can speak about that are inspiring forces. I've met a lot of ministers regionally from different countries, and I don't necessarily want to pinpoint them, but they do inspire me in their heart for gender and their heart for women's rights and advocating for women's rights. I'm inspired by our very own, by our Prime Minister, and the work that she's doing internationally and globally. It's so dynamic, and it's heartfelt, because you can see she's trying to improve the lives of all, and so I admire her for taking that stance for small island developing states, and the recognition that she's gained. That's inspiring. And I can say that when you attend these sessions, like for example, I will be attending the Commission on the Status of Women at the United Nations shortly. You meet so many different inspiring women that have so many different stories about their lives, and we all have one purpose here: empowering women, advocating for their rights, achieving gender equality. That is the sole purpose. I think UN Women's theme is include women, accelerate progress, and it's very true. I mean, I think it was Shirley Chisholm that said, you know, if they don't give you a seat at the table, pull up on a folding chair, right? And yeah, I just believe women get the job done, and so I'm just inspired by women who are going out there, getting the job done, and not sitting back and allowing males to dominate in a way that suppresses you. I believe it's time to really to continue the inclusion of women in society, and we can't allow any regression of that, because women get the job done.
Well, the job is done here today, and she has been my fascinating guest today, Andrea Simon. She's an attorney at law, young attorney at law, but she has a passion, as you would have heard, for women's rights and representation and advocacy on behalf of women, and is doing a wonderful job in that regard. And so, Andrea, we wish you continued success as you continue to grow internationally, as you continue to fight for the rights of women, and we wish you continued success in both your careers, both your legal and your advocacy on behalf of women. Thank you very much for being my very special guest here on the Red Couch.
My pleasure.